I'm Anna.
And I'm Jake. Thanks for joining us today.
Today, we're diving into a topic that sounds simple but can be really hard to do: saying no. Or more specifically, why saying no is actually a kind of self-care.
Yeah, that's a big one. Many people, including me, have trouble saying no, especially to friends, family, or even coworkers.
Same here. Sometimes I agree to things even when I'm tired or busy. I don't want to disappoint anyone, but later I feel stressed or even a little resentful.
Exactly. Saying no isn't about being rude or selfish. It's about being honest with ourselves. It's about protecting our time, our energy, and our peace.
That's so true. And for our listeners, this episode will help you not just learn how to say no in English, but also why it's important for your well-being.
Before we start, if you enjoy practicing English with us, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this podcast with a friend who also wants to feel confident in English.
And we'd love to hear your opinions. Have you ever found it hard to say no? Maybe you agreed to something you didn't really want to do. What happened and how did you feel?
All right, let's get started.
So, Jake, why do you think it's so hard for people to say no?
I think we're afraid of being seen as impolite, or maybe we worry that people will stop liking us.
Yeah, that's a big one. There's a phrase I like: people pleaser. It means someone who always tries to make everyone happy, even if it hurts themselves.
Oh, I used to be a total people pleaser. I'd say yes to everything, helping friends move, covering extra work, joining every event.
I can relate. But after a while, it becomes too much. You start feeling tired and even a little resentful.
That's when I realized saying no isn't rejection. It's respect for your time and your needs.
Exactly. It's like putting on your oxygen mask first before helping others. You can't take care of anyone if you don't take care of yourself first.
I love that image. So learning to say no is actually learning to care for yourself, not to push people away, but to stay true to what you can really handle.
Well said. And in the next part, let's talk about why we often feel guilty when we say no and how to let go of that guilt.
You know, Anna, even when I know it's the right choice to say no, I still feel guilty sometimes.
Yeah, me too. It's like this little voice inside saying, "You're letting them down."
Exactly, and that guilt can be really strong. I think part of it comes from how we were raised. Many of us were taught to be kind, helpful, and polite, and saying no feels like the opposite of that.
Right, but actually, saying no can also be kind to yourself. There's a phrase I like: you can't pour from an empty cup. It means if you're too tired or stressed, you have nothing left to give to others.
That's a beautiful phrase, and it's true. I once had a coworker who always said yes to everything. She joined every project, helped everyone, stayed late almost every night. People loved her, but she looked exhausted.
Oh, I know that type of person, and eventually they burn out.
Exactly. One day, she finally said, "I'm sorry, I can't help this time." And guess what? No one got angry. In fact, people respected her more.
That's such a good reminder. Sometimes we imagine people will be upset, but in reality, they usually understand.
Yeah, most people do. And if they don't, well, maybe that tells you something about the relationship.
True. Let's also help our listeners with a few simple ways to say no politely in English.
Great idea. For example, "I'd love to, but I can't right now." "Thanks for asking, but I have other plans." "I really appreciate it, but I need some rest today."
Those are perfect. They're polite, clear, and show respect. You can also use softeners, small words that make a sentence sound kinder, like maybe, a bit, I'm afraid, or not this time.
For instance, "I'm afraid I can't join this week." It sounds gentle, right?
Exactly. It's about tone and kindness, not just the word no.
I like that. And maybe if we practice these phrases, we'll start feeling less guilty.
Yes, because guilt often comes from fear of rejection or fear of not being liked. But once you see that people respect your honesty, that fear starts to fade.
So true. And in the next part, we'll talk about what happens when we don't say no and how always saying yes can actually hurt us.
So, Jake, last time we talked about guilt and how to say no politely. But what happens when we don't say no, when we keep saying yes all the time?
I know that story too well. A few years ago, I was working in a small office. Everyone knew I was the nice guy, the one who'd always say yes. Need help with a report? Ask Jake. Need someone to cover a shift? Ask Jake.
You sound like the office superhero.
Yeah, at first it felt good. People appreciated me. But after a few months, I was completely exhausted. I worked weekends, skipped lunch breaks, and didn't have time for my own hobbies.
That sounds rough.
It was. And the worst part? I started feeling angry, not at them, but at myself. I realized that every time I said yes when I wanted to say no, I was saying no to myself.
Wow, that's powerful. That's a really important point for everyone listening. When you say yes to everything, you end up losing energy, time, and even joy.
Exactly. It's like trying to run your phone all day without charging it. You'll crash eventually.
That's a great metaphor. And I think a lot of people can relate, especially those who want to help others or don't want to disappoint anyone.
Yeah, and sometimes we think saying yes makes us more loved, but real respect comes from being honest and clear.
Absolutely. And for English learners, this idea connects to language too. Sometimes you might not have the words to refuse politely, so you say yes even when you don't want to.
That's true. So learning simple phrases can actually protect your emotional health.
Exactly. Let's share a few more examples of polite refusals. I wish I could, but I already have too much on my plate. That means you're already busy or have too many things to do. Maybe another time. That sounds great, but I really need some rest today.
I like those. They sound friendly and confident.
And here's something I've learned. When you respect your limits, you teach others to respect them too.
Yes, boundaries don't push people away, they make relationships healthier.
That's a perfect note to move on. In the next part, we'll explore how to say no with kindness and sound natural while doing it. So, Jake, now that we've talked about the cost of always saying yes, let's dig into how to say no kindly without sounding cold or rude.
Right. Because it's not just what you say, but how you say it. Tone, facial expression, and even body language matter a lot.
Exactly. When you say no, you can still smile, use a gentle voice, and sound thankful. That changes everything.
Yeah. For example, instead of saying, "No, I can't," which sounds a bit direct, you could say, "I'd really love to, but I can't this time." Same meaning, different feeling.
That's a great example. And another phrase I often use is, "Thank you for thinking of me." It shows appreciation before the refusal.
Oh, that's nice. So you're not rejecting the person, you're just declining the request.
Exactly. That's a big difference. When people hear no, they sometimes take it personally. But when you express gratitude or kindness first, it helps them feel respected.
That reminds me of a small story. Last month, a friend invited me to a weekend trip. I really wanted to go, but I had too much work. So I said, "That sounds amazing, but I've got a big deadline this week. Maybe next time."
And how did your friend react?
She smiled and said, "No worries, we'll plan another one soon." It felt so good, like I was honest and she totally understood.
That's a perfect real-life example. And you used two great softeners there. That sounds amazing and maybe next time. Both make the no sound caring and human.
Right. Here are a few more phrases that sound natural in English. I appreciate it, but I need some me time today. Me time means personal time to relax or recharge. I'm so sorry, I can't make it this time. I'll have to pass, but thank you so much.
I like "I'll have to pass." It's casual, friendly, and super common in English.
Yeah, and it's perfect for friends or coworkers.
So, saying no kindly is really about three things: your words, your tone, and your energy.
Exactly. You're not just saying no,
You're communicating self-respect and honesty.
I love that. And the more you practice it, the easier it becomes. You start realizing that kindness and boundaries can go hand in hand.
Yes, and in the next part, we'll talk about how saying no can actually be an act of self-care and why it can make your life feel calmer and more balanced.
So, Jake, we've talked about polite phrases and tone, but now let's talk about something deeper. Why saying no can actually be self-care.
Yeah, I think a lot of people still don't see it that way. They think self-care means taking a bubble bath or watching Netflix, which it can. But sometimes self-care means doing the harder thing, setting a boundary.
Exactly. It's like saying, I matter too. And that's not selfish, that's healthy.
I remember a time when I was going through a stressful period. My schedule was full, and a friend asked me to help him move apartments. Normally I'd say yes, but I was already burned out. So I told him, I'm really sorry, I can't this weekend. I need to rest.
That must have been tough to say.
It was. I felt bad at first, but after that weekend, I realized how much I needed that rest. I came back to work feeling refreshed, and the next week, I helped him with something else.
That's such a great example. Sometimes we forget that rest is productive too. When you take care of yourself, you can give more to others later.
Totally. There's a saying, you teach people how to treat you. If you always say yes, people might assume you're always available. But when you set boundaries, they learn to respect your time.
That's such an important idea, and it's also emotional self-care. Every no you say to something that drains you is a yes to something that fills you, like peace, sleep, or joy.
I love that. You're basically choosing what deserves your energy.
Exactly. And this connects beautifully with learning English too. Think about it. You can't learn everything at once. You have to say no to distractions or too many goals so you can focus on what really matters.
That's true. Even in studying, boundaries help.
So, for our listeners, here are a few useful expressions related to self-care. Take a step back to rest or think before acting. Recharge your batteries to relax and regain energy. Listen to your body to notice when you're tired or stressed.
Those are great. Saying no is one of the best ways to listen to your body and mind.
Yes, it's not rejection, it's protection. Protection of your time, peace, and heart.
Beautifully said. And in the final part, we'll talk about how living with this mindset, being honest, balanced, and kind, can change your relationships and your confidence.
So here we are, the last part. We've learned that saying no can be kind, polite, and even healing. But how does it change our daily life once we start practicing it?
I think the biggest change is peace. When you stop saying yes to everything, your mind becomes quieter. You don't wake up feeling pulled in 10 directions anymore.
That's so true. You begin to trust yourself more. You realize you can say no and still be loved, still be respected, still be kind.
Yeah. Before I learned this, I used to think boundaries would push people away. But it's the opposite. They bring the right people closer.
Absolutely. Because when you're honest about your limits, people know they can trust your yes, too. It means something.
That's a great point. When every yes is genuine, your relationships become more real, more balanced.
And this confidence grows slowly. The first time you say no, your voice might shake. The second time, you might feel guilty. But by the 10th time, you start smiling because you know you're choosing peace over pressure.
I love that. It's like learning a new language. At first you feel awkward, but the more you practice, the more natural it becomes.
Exactly. And for our English learners, remember, every time you practice a polite refusal, you're not just improving your speaking, you're also strengthening your emotional muscles.
That's beautiful, Anna. And maybe the biggest lesson is this. Saying no doesn't close doors. It opens the right ones.
Wow, yes. It opens the door to balance, to self-respect, and to healthier connections.
So listeners,
Maybe this week, try saying no just once. Kindly, honestly, and with love. Notice how it feels. You might be surprised by how freeing it is.
And remember, your time, your energy, and your peace are precious. Protecting them is not selfish. It's smart, it's kind, it's self-care. Closing reflection. Sometimes the smallest word, no, carries the biggest power. When we learn to use it with honesty and kindness, we begin to live more freely. We stop running after everyone else's expectations and start listening to our own hearts. It's not about rejecting others, it's about choosing what truly matters. If you've ever struggled to say no, know that you're not alone. Every no is practice. Practice in self-respect, in courage, in balance. And over time, that practice builds confidence. So today, take a deep breath, let go of guilt, and remember, saying no doesn't make you unkind, it makes you real. You deserve the same care and respect that you give to others. Thanks for listening, everyone. Stay gentle, stay kind, and keep growing your English and your peace.